So I go into the dressing room, and I'm getting warmed up and stuff like that. They come to put the gloves on me. You know, I'm thinking, geez, these things feel kind of big, kind of fluffy. What's wrong with them? I said, what kind of gloves are these? 10-ounce gloves. I said, wait a minute. I always fight not 8-ounce gloves. You know. So sorry, that's what they gave us. I'm thinking, man. So I'm walking out there. I've got a referee. A hostile referee, I consider. I've got 10-ounce gloves instead of 8-ounce gloves. Then they introduce them, and today, Sam Montgomery's birthday. So I'm fighting him on his birthday in his hometown, you know, and then with a referee that I don't think is going to be good to me, you know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of the podcast, and we are joined today with Grandmaster Ishmael Robles. Super happy to have you on today, sir. Excited to hear the stories that you guys are going to talk about and about the good old days. But let's start with, Grandmaster Garza, why don't you introduce our guest today?
Yes, I have here Grandmaster Ishmael Robles, and I should say World Kickboxing Champion with the Professional Karate Association, PKA. And what an amazing moment to get to bring you in and just reminisce and just share your story with us. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Thanks for the invitation.
You bet.
Why don't we start with your memories? So I know this is also your instructor that we're joined by. So what brought you to train with him? I know he was down in Galveston. So what brought you to train with Grandmaster Robles back however long ago? How long ago was it ago?
Okay. Well, I started doing martial arts in 1973, and the Benavides family were responsible for me doing martial arts because they were involved in it. And I met Master George Minshew at a tournament, and he had a special going on, and so I wound up in Houston training first. Then I realized that I really wanted to be with my cousins in Galveston. And at that time, it was just before Grandmaster Robles graduated from college and came and took over the classes. And so this was our start. So I had a couple of instructors, great instructors. George Minshew was the owner of the schools, and Jimmy Tavares was the main instructor at the school that I trained at, which was Blackwood Academy, Telephone Road, and Gulf Freeway. So we drove from Dickinson to Houston. My ride went off to college, and I realized I just got in a car, and I just realized, wow, I'm going to go and switch over to Galveston. And it was just before you got out of college. Joe Hernandez was teaching at that time. And then you got out of college, and you came in and started teaching for us. And so you became my instructor in that time. It was around that time. What year was it that you graduated?
In 75.
Yeah, 75 was when he came in, and there we go. And the rest is history, as they say. And we're going to bring up some of that history now. Okay. Is one of the things that I love in my memory is just getting to spar somebody as great as him and being a beginner and getting beat up by him. He had good self-control, though. I mean, but you didn't want to make him angry. On most days, he was not angry, though. So yeah. It was really a great memory when I look at where you were at that point and watching your career in point fighting and in kickboxing, and just as an instructor teaching us and mentoring us, and teaching us principles of success, of determination, of just the things that you prepared us and how you gave us the mindset to be fighters, to be good fighters. And I just have a lot of gratefulness to what we learned from you, what I learned from you, and continue to learn from you, watching you live life.
Thank you.
So what about your memories? What do you remember about young Grandmaster Garza?
I remember Master Garza being a young and kind of a crazy guy, so wild and crazy, I guess you could say. But he fit right in with us, and it was because he had a crazy family, and they were part of it too.
Oh, yeah, Jesse.
He was there with Jesse and the girls. And he would come down and train with us. And I started my first studio on 14th Street. My dad owned a building, and I got him to. He wanted me to go to law school. I said, Dad, give me a couple of years. Let me try this out, see if it goes anywhere. So he reluctantly agreed and let me stay there. And it was a nice little school. We would have big fights there. We were a tournament-oriented school. We'd go to tournaments, and we'd take 15, 20 competitors. We'd come back with 15 or 20 trophies. Yeah. So we were geared more towards the competition than anything. But we still taught the kids how to be successful, courteous, polite, the things, because I by that time I had transferred over my instructor to Grandmaster Junri. And Grandmaster Reed really opened my eyes to what martial arts was really all about, and it helped me out a lot. And it's driven me for the last almost 50 years next year.
Really?
So
that was a question I was trying to understand. Who was your first instructor?
My very first instructor was named James Stevens.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Jesse Benavides, dear friend, and y'all's uncles, he told me, man, you need to come try this karate thing, man. I said, well, I'm a boxer, you know. He said, well, you come watch our demonstration. So I went and watched the demonstration, and then I really liked it. And I was thinking, man, you can not only punch them, you can kick them too. Mm-hmm. So I got involved, and he taught me. He was my very first instructor. Then I went to college, and I trained with a guy named Fred Simon. And Fred Simon's a great man, and he was a Junri black belt. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got hooked up with Junri. And Junri came down and did a couple of belt tests for us, and so I got to know him. Then when I tested for my black belt, I asked Master E. I went to some of his seminars, business seminars, and I asked him if he would take me on as a student. And he said yes, he would. He was impressed with me. So that led to a just totally different thing. My instructors though were James Stevens, Fred Simon, and Junri. Okay. Those were I had another gentleman that I was affiliated with in Beaumont named Les Armentor, who kind of was an instructor too, that taught me some good business. He was a good businessman, so he taught me a lot of good business. So those were the people that kind of made an impression upon me, my early career in karate and teaching karate and setting up a business.
What year did you graduate from?
December of 1974, and then I moved to right after graduation. I went up to Dallas. Mm. That's where I started training for the kickboxing team there.
At that time, were you coming to Galveston and teaching as well, or bouncing back?
I don't believe I had. Okay. Many years and many hits to the head have kind of diminished my. But I remember going back to Galveston to talk with my parents and see them, because I'd just gotten out of school, but they'd gone up to the graduation. But still, I wanted to see them and work with them, because then I needed to zoom back up to Dallas and start training, because we fought our fight in February. So I only had about 4 to 6 weeks to train for that fight.
So there's two questions I'd like for you to answer for the benefit of everyone listening is what an honor to get to train with Junri, right? Grandmaster Junri.
Yes.
And because of my relationship with you, I was introduced to him as well, and we had a career that was enhanced very much by his philosophy and the things that he did. So maybe you can say a few things about Junri and who he was, and let's see how that sounds.
I was impressed. I went to a seminar. A gentleman by the name of Richard Morris brought him in for a business seminar, and I didn't know anything about business. I thought you just bring people in and you take it or you don't take it, you quit, you're fine, everything's fine. But he taught great business systems. He was way ahead of anybody in regards to martial arts and teaching martial arts for a living. So I learned a lot from him. And it was right after that first seminar. I went to another seminar, I forget when, and that's when I think I really sat down with him and took him aside and said, Master Ray, I'd really be privileged if you would accept me as a student. And he did. I didn't think he would, but I just figured I'd ask. But he did, and it was just amazing to be able to say that, because I've only had like 3 or 4 personal instructors, and he was definitely the one that made the most impression on me. Not so much for fighting. He liked the fight the way he liked that I was a fighter, because he had great fighters, Jeff Smith, Pat Worley, the guys like that were really great. But I kind of seemed to fit right in with that blend, so it was good for me.
So my contact with him I think was already, being set up by what you were doing in your relationship. But we started bringing him into Texas, and he started going around to a few tournaments in 1984. And then he had a weekend event, 4th of July weekend, Thursday through Sunday over in Fort Worth. And he invited about 30 of us.
I remember, yes.
Yeah, there was
that's
about
when
30 of us that were promoters and fighters and whatnot.
School owners.
Yeah, and that weekend he just basically unloaded his philosophy, his curriculum, and his business systems, and that's what started that relationship. And we launched martial arts. What was it called? Do you remember the name of it? It was
Martial Arts America. My studio, no.
The
World
Congress for Education.
Congress for Education.
That was it. World Congress for Education. So that started our relationship with him.
Right.
And I thought that was a great time.
Yes.
Yeah. So spending time with him from early morning, 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday we got off a little early.
His energy was just amazing.
Yeah. We worked physical fitness, philosophy. It was just a little bit of everything throughout the whole day. It was awesome. And being around people that we used to see for competition and then we'd be separated, but being with them for 3 days, 4 days like that, it was really nice. And it started relationships that have been long lasting.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's good. I think after that, our relationship started out with me working at Amico.
Right.
It led to this, I should say. I was working at Amico Oil as an operator, and my brother-in-law, Ruben Herrero, was working for Carbide, and the two of us had dreamed about opening a school in Dickinson. So with your blessings, we opened in Dickinson, and every now and then we both got caught up where we were working and there was no instructor. So you bailed us out a few times. What do you remember about those days?
I think you still owe me for that.
Oh, what is it that I owe you?
Well, probably accumulated a lot of interest by now.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we'll get that settled after this, okay?
But we made a great team. It was fun and we got together and would talk. When I was married, we would have coffee sometimes over here at the diner down the street.
Yes.
And talk business and stuff like that.
Right. Well, it's been a beautiful relationship, I think, because I've always honored and respected you and never wanted to make you mad. And, just watching your career, being one of the students on the sidelines, during that series of fights where you had first round knockouts consistently. How many was it altogether?
I had 5 in a row.
5 first.
But it was spread out over like a 2 or 3 year period because I was still doing karate tournaments.
Yes.
So
in those, the one that I remember the most was the one with Sam Montgomery.
Right.
And it would be cool if we could watch that. Y'all want to watch that? So Sam Montgomery was your U.S. title bout.
U.S. title, yes.
And I'll let you talk about it. And on the video, they say a few things about it, too. Go ahead.
Well, I was living with my best friend, Rick Boyle. We were sharing an apartment together. And I was also had my karate studio on 45th Street, I believe. And I got a call from a guy that I'd met named George Chung. George Chung now, by the way, owns Black Belt Magazine. He was an amazing competitor. Him and John Chung used to have a down to the wire forms competition, and these guys could fly. And of course, John was just the expert technician, and George was the showman. He would all do the crazy stuff. But I had a great relationship with George, and he called me one day. He said, "Ishmael, we're putting together a big tournament, and it's our national event, and we want to put you as to fight Sam Montgomery for the PKA U.S. title." And I said, "Well, okay, I think we can do it. Let's go ahead and do it." So we set it up, and then I went to Dallas to train, and I trained with Jim Choate, who ended up being my trainer for a lot of other fights, and then I also went around to some of the other people in the area, good friends, Texas karate people, a guy by the name of Roy Kerbin was a former judge. And Roy took me in and he worked with me on some footwork, some techniques, some combinations and things like that. He's just a complete encyclopedia of martial arts. A great fighter, great man. But it was kind of funny because the last time that I saw him and trained with him, he was kind of, Ishmael, he's really good, and he's probably about 5 or 6 inches taller than you. And, you got to fight hard. You'll do well, I'm sure, but he wouldn't really tell me that. Didn't give me as much confidence as I thought he would, but that was okay. It made me feel good that he was taking the time to work with me. And so I went I took Jesse Benavidez with me, I believe. Didn't I? No, I didn't. I didn't take
Rusty
Jesse.
McMains.
I took Rusty McMains and Billy Singletary.
There you go.
They went with me up to the fight. And then right off the bat, things started kind of going the wrong way, I thought, because first of all, they introduced me to the judge. I mean, to the referee, and he and I are great friends now. But back then, I'd had a problem with him at a previous fight in El Paso, where he had come in and stopped a fight with my fighter. And I said, you can't do that. Why did you stop the fight? He didn't even hit the ground. And I really made a big deal about it, and something about his glove or something like that. It was really, but I kind of got upset with him. And later on, we were up in a bar and he was sitting right behind me, and I was talking about what a terrible judge he is, what a terrible referee. He was sitting right behind me. And so I got up and I left, and he said, hey, and he said goodbye. I mean, he was nice about it, I guess. It could have been worse, I guess. But anyway, I go to this fight. He's the referee.
Oh no,
he's the referee. I said, man, I told Joe Corley. I said, Joe, you got to get another referee. He and I had a bad problem. No, we can't. I'm sorry. He's the only guy that can do it because he's certified. Blah 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 blah. I said, okay. So I go into the dressing room, and I'm getting warmed up and stuff like that. They come to put the gloves on me. I'm thinking, geez, these things feel kind of big, kind of fluffy. What's wrong with them? I said, what kind of gloves are these? 10-ounce gloves. I said, wait a minute. I always fight not 8-ounce gloves, So sorry, that's what they gave us. I'm thinking, man. So I'm walking out there. I've got a referee, a hostile referee, I consider. I've got 10-ounce gloves instead of 8-ounce gloves. Then they introduce him, and today, Sam Montgomery's birthday. So I'm fighting him on his birthday in his hometown, and then with a referee that I don't think is going to be good to me, right. and I'm thinking, man, that George Chung. I'm thinking I'm going to get George Chung next, But I was fortunate. I was lucky, and if we watch the fight, you're going to see that they're really on his side. I mean, they bring up how old he is. It's his birthday. What a great fighter he is. All the experience. You think, well, geez, man, right. they're all against me,
And who's this Ishmael Robles, right?
Who's this Ishmael Robles? But
so I think I love watching this. It never gets old for me because I'm always studying your overhand right. And the most recent time that I had it run through the school is I told all the instructors, I said, and everybody that you show this to, I want you to count how many times it took you to land that punch.
Right,
so it's determination, commitment, confidence, and a skill.
Sure.
And it took some adjustment. The guy was tall, he was long, he was talented.
He was experienced, sure. He was one of the best point fighters in the nation.
And he had been going overseas and fighting some of the ties as well, from what I understood it. So everything was stacked against you, like you said, and announcers. But the moment you hit him with that right hand, you became somebody in their hometown.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that was it. So let's see it.
Championship as Ishmael Robles and Sam Montgomery meet for the vacant title. Joe Corley and I were there for the bout.
How old were you here?
I have no idea. So it was 24, 25.
Yeah, it says it was in 82. March 12th, 1982 is what it says on YouTube.
82.
I had to laugh, too. He says he's got one boy and another one on the way.
Quick calculations.
Okay, we're set for round one.
Yeah, this is probably the one that I've seen the most because, like you said, we like to show it to our black belt candidates every year or our students.
And determination and getting off and getting balanced, finding your space.
Looks like Montgomery's not going to be content to lay back. And
I love listening to the
Robles come
announcers.
after
Looks
him
like
in this
Montgomery
fight.
is Montgomery, and everything's
He
Montgomery.
before, of course, he was going to try to pick Robles off as he came in.
There was another overhand attempt.
But it looks like he's
We
being a little
counted
more
14.
aggressive than his
Something
earlier
around
run.
there.
14 was the one that did it. So if you're watching this for the first time, look for that right hand and how it goes overhand. There it is
Good
again.
jab then by
It's about
Montgomery.
5 or
Stopped
6.
the overhand right of Robles, brought
He's
it
setting
way
it
off
up,
target.
finding his range.
That one found its mark right on the cheekbone, nose of Montgomery. Robles here's that
I've tried to
back
model my
kick in
front
there
leg roundhouse
very,
after you,
very
and that thing comes out of nowhere.
Montgomery
It's in this
that
fight a
time
couple
decided to
times.
Step inside.
Montgomery has very, very good
He was a tall
reflexes
guy.
from his
He was
point
about-
karate fighting, as does Robles.
Well, I was 5'7". He
And
was
it's
probably about
very
6'1" or
easy to get
6'2".
inside a spinning back kick if you've got the right timing.
Oh, hard kick. Robles had him blinking on that one.
Yeah, landed on his arms, knocks his arms back into his face.
Montgomery really looks confident. Good combination. Got inside the gloves of Robles.
Robles then came with the overhand right. He sees that, I think, as his best weapon against that left jab. He's trying to get inside the jab and then come with the overhand right. He said he didn't know how long it would take him to get inside the jab, but he was definitely going to get in.
There you see the strategy of Montgomery trying to fend him off with the kicks and the jab. 8 seconds remaining in round number 1.
There it is.
Over the right hand.
5 seconds
The
remaining.
overhand right, Joe.
And the bell rang, but he will not be saved by the bell.
No denying it
Can he
landed.
get up? I don't think so. This fight's over for him, I believe. He can't get it back together. He's trying.
Devastating blow by Robles.
Do you know what your record was up to that point?
I have no idea. I think I need to start learning that or looking at that. But I probably had about 12 or 15 fights up to that time.
And were you undefeated?
I'm sorry?
Were you undefeated?
I had I lost my a match. I think I might have been undefeated. I lost to a guy. I can't remember who it was. I got hit and couldn't get back.
That was after that, though.
I think it was after that.
Yeah,
I think
that
I
was
was
after
undefeated.
that.
Yeah, I think I was undefeated there.
Yeah. I don't remember you losing. So.
Okay, well maybe we'll go with your memory.
Yeah, there you go. Go with that one for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you think about that now, looking back on it, what are you watching it right there? What are the feelings that come in and memories that come back?
Great feelings because I knew I didn't know who the guy was. I'd never seen him fight before, and I had good people with me, and but like I said, when I started seeing all the things stacking up against me, it kind of made me wonder, and it made me. And the best part was calling Roy Curbin. Roy, and he said, "Oh, hi Ishmael, how you doing? How did you do?" I said, "I knocked him out in the first round." Oh my gosh, he was really excited. But
So was this your first fight with a first round knockout?
no, I think I
Because you
had
did a
several.
series of 5, I think you said.
I think I had one right before that.
So this was your
I fought
second
in
one
San
then?
Antonio and I knocked a guy out, and then I fought here, and then I fought in Galveston, had a knockout, and then I fought for the world title.
Yeah, I remember being in Galveston because we had all of us were expected.
That was what was his name? Dr. Doom.
Right.
One of Al Francis's guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this was over but I didn't know, I was still fighting karate tournaments.
Yes.
I told you, in karate, I was a pretty good karate fighter, and I actually won the 77 and 79 U.S. championships, and then I won the 78 and 1980 Fort Worth Pro-Am, Roy Curbin's. And when I won Roy's, this is, we got time for a little story?
We got all the time in the world for stories.
I had a dear friend. I mean, I went to his funeral. His name was D.P. Hill. To me, the greatest point fighter in Texas of all time. His arms were so long, he could grab people and control them and punch them at the same time, bring them in while he was punching to double his power. He was an amazing fighter. I remember Dan Anderson telling me, "Yeah, he broke my jaw." I said, "Wow." And DP and I, we fought 3 times. The first 2, he would be the kind to move around, control you, do whatever, but he'd run, he'd stay away from you. He would win just by time running out. He'd win by a point. He only beat me by 1 point 2 times, and it really frustrated me. And so we go to the Fort Worth Pro-Am, and I'm going to fight, DP, first fight. We're the quarterfinals, right? We go in there, and Demetrius Savanas that night was fighting a U.S. title fight against Ernie Hart. And so there was a boxing ring set up at the tournament. And so Greek, boy, I love Greek. He was just a dear friend. But he just didn't have it that night. Ernest was a darn good fighter, and he was able to keep him at bay, and he was able to win that match. So he won a decision. So I figured to myself, geez, here the chance to fight DP right off the bat. And what had happened about a year before that, we had fought in a tournament in Beaumont. And in the Beaumont, same thing. He got a point ahead of me, and he ran, and the time ran out, and he won the fight. So later that night, we're in a room. We're in a hotel room. We're having a couple of drinks and things like that. And he had a very distinctive laugh. He would laugh, and I heard him out in the hallway. And he was going to come into our room. Well, I was in the restroom, and then I thought, he's walking in, and there's a closet right across from the restroom. So when he walks in, I grab him, I stuff him into the closet, and I close the closet behind me. I said, okay, now you SOB, run. And he's going, right, you crazy, Robles, you crazy. And that we started laughing. It was a funny thing, right? So he gets out, we go on with our fun. And anyway, we're at the at the Fort Worth Pro-Am.
About a year later.
About a year later,
yeah.
We're at the Fort Worth Open, and we're going to fight the quarterfinal. And so I'm thinking, how can I psych him out? I go up to him, I tap him like this. I said, DP, there's my closet. Talking about the boxing ring. I had pretty much grown up in a boxing ring, so I was good. I knew how to work the angles and work things like that. So I got him in there, and I beat the ever-living crap out of him. I mean, I'd go up against the ropes, and I'd bounce off at an angle. He'd come off the ropes. He'd come straight back because he didn't know how to be in a boxing ring, and I'd pound him. And after that, I fought the #1 fighter in the nation, Keith Vitale, and I beat him like 2 or 3.
That was an amazing fight.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Were you there?
I was.
Okay,
yes,
I don't remember it.
Sure.
I wish I had videos of that. But so here I'm thinking, geez, that's great. That's great. So that had a lot to do with me not only fighting that much. Kickboxing wasn't a real big thing as far as, it was good for money. It was good for, but I wanted to get the publicity for the karate school, and I thought fighting tournaments was a little bit better. So we would.
So the saying that I heard, I don't know if it was somebody saying it about you or if it was you saying it, but the only difference between point fighting and kickboxing for you was the gloves you were wearing. Is that right? Otherwise, it was basically the same skills.
I believe it was Tim Kirby had a saying that the only difference between a boxer and a kickboxer, a karate fighter and a kickboxer, was you took your top off.
Yes.
I think that was the saying.
Right. Specifically you, because you didn't.
I fought the same way, whether I was kickboxing.
Either way, you were going to be
karate.
aggressive. You were going to be doing combos.
Yeah.
That left leg round kick, your jump turn side kick.
Yeah,
those were some of your best stuff.
Some of my
and then great hands. Your jab and back knuckle were very close to the same. Your hooks and ridge hands.
Right.
So those were good times. Those are still good memories.
Still great memories. Yeah.
And a great model for me coming up behind you.
You had a good ridge hand. I remember you being known for a ridge hand.
That was my side kick and my ridge hand was what but I learned it from watching you and doing that and being taught by you and James Stevens. And, we were very blessed to have these guys. We throw out a bunch of names and they don't mean a lot to the people that are listening. But like I said, Jun Rhee brought Taekwondo to the United States, happened to bring it to Texas. And then for us to be able to train directly under him during some of his best years, I think some of his really good years. And then all those names that you're naming off were all top names in the nation and in point fighting and kickboxing. And you being a top name.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have the other one first round knockout was that a world title with Watson?
Alan Watson, that was the kick. world title.
Kick world title.
Yeah.
Can we watch that one?
Sure.
Yeah. Tell us about that one.
Well, I was what was I? I was training with Jim Choate, and no, that's
There it is. Alan
No, it
Watson,
is, okay.
welterweight.
I was training with is that the clean one? Yeah.
It says 12 rounds.
Yeah, get up to the I forget where it is, where it starts.
He lost one. He won
there
five
you go.
4, I think he won.
Another first round knockout.
First round knockout, yeah.
There's a lot to prove.
So don't blink,
Watson
guys.
in the white and Robles in the blue. Good right hand.
He hit
by
me right
Watson
off the
as
bat
he
with a
got
good
it in
right hand, so at
over
least I
the
know I could take a
left
punch
defensive
then.
glove
I don't know if I can take
of
one now.
Robles.
That mustache is on
carrying
point.
the attack to Watson. Hook kick right there, got home
hair.
to the midsection, tried the overhand right, that misses, comes up
I
with the
definitely
high
see
leg
where
kick,
you
and
got
that's
the
picked
inspiration
off
for your
by the
look there,
glove.
Dad. Oh, man.
Yep.
Already.
Punch to the jaw, puts
He goes
Watson
down.
on the floor. He gets up very, very quickly, but that punch surprised him. I think he was completely surprised by that punch.
Yes, he did. It was overhand right.
And this was for
This was
Kick
for the
world
Kick
title.
World title. And the commentators are George Minshew and Ken Norton, the world boxing champion. Great guy. I wish I'd had a camera to get a picture with him. He came and said hi to me the next day.
There's no backing up in you, is there?
No.
He didn't know what that meant.
Somebody said something about feeling people out, but I never understood that.
And you talk about full body sponsorship behind those punches.
He was a good boxer. He hit me some good shots, but I was able to take him on top of the head.
Good close in.
Yeah, when I first saw it the first time, if I didn't know that it was a win for you, I was going to question it a couple of minutes there.
Yeah.
Robles is very strong. He has very good hard punches. He knows what he wants. It's a good stiff punches.
Watson hurt right there, almost went down, and Robles moving in now, trying to finish him off. Watson staggering in the middle of the ring, and down he goes. Referee Roy Curbin steps
That's
in.
Roy Curbin is the ref
The
there.
referee, yeah.
Back on the lower strand of the rope, looking at the
I don't know that I've seen this one before. This might be my first time.
Curbin checking his eyes.
He's trying to come back.
Now Watson very, very wobbly. Robles moving in.
Oh, he came back after
left
that.
in round one. A good right hook to the head of Watson
they threw the
by
towel.
Robles at the end of the round.
You know,
And Watson weathers the storm.
The towel came in thrown by the corner. I think it's
Wow.
a very smart move. Referee should have stopped the fight early because the man was out on his feet and he could have gotten hurt very badly.
I love the way you work your front leg into it.
I use it like a jab. I've always had a good front leg roundhouse. That's the only kick that I think I ever used. But I like to use it and set people up with it.
Yeah. And I know
even
you still have that.
Point karate, same thing. I used to use that. I used to score with front leg roundhouse kicks.
I think all that camp came out of the influence of you and Greek, and Greek had an awesome one, and so did all his guys, and I worked mine pretty good too, and it came out of you guys for sure. That was where it started.
I'm glad you brought up the Greek because I think about him just about every day. I mean, he was a dear friend, as close to like a brother almost, and he's the one that got me into the kickboxing because when I was getting ready to graduate college, he called, said, Ishmael, we're putting together a kickboxing team, and I think you could be the flyweight. So that's when I went to see my mom and dad. I went up there to live. I was living he said, you can stay with us, and he had a wife and a couple of girls. I was thinking, man, I hate to do that, stay with him. It feels awkward. I said, can I stay at your karate school? We had a karate school in the basement of a big, beautiful hotel. Like Anatole Hotel was the name of it. Mm. And so I stayed there, and I was, I'd get a bed, a rollaway bed out of the corridors or something like that. I'd sleep. It was perfect. And then I had a guy that was staying with me named Mike Davis. And Mike, nice guy. He was a brown belt, and I'd met my teammates. One of them was named Phil Wallman. We became really good, close friends. And after a while, Mike would, we'd go pick up Chuck Norris or something like that at the airport. And oh, how are y'all doing? Oh, we're doing great. Then Mike would take over the conversation. Yeah, I'm going to be the flyweight. I'm thinking he's a freaking brown belt, and kind of putting me down. But he was okay about it, but I didn't like it. And I'm thinking, man, if I have to stay with this guy very much longer, I'm going to kill him. I would pound him I would hit him extra hard during our training sessions. So Phil says, hey, Ishmael, you want to come stay with us? I said, sure. And I would have felt awkward, but I didn't feel awkward then. I figured, no, I'd love to come stay with you, Phil. And we became like family, he and his wife and I. And we were they're still dear friends after all this time.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, the Greek.
But the Greek,
his story.
The Greek, but he's the one that got me on the team. But this is a funny story. You'll like this. I was a good boxer. I'd won some tournaments, Golden Gloves tournaments and stuff like that. And I was a pretty darn good boxer. And so I went up to train with him. I would go train with him regularly and stay with him for a few days. And he said one day, we're at a big studio, and he said, you want to box a little bit? I said, sure, let's box. I pounded him. My hands were hurting from hitting him so much, and I was jabbing him and bobbing and weaving, boom, 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 and killing him. I thought, I'm thinking. So then about 6 or 8 months later, 9 months later, I go back up there to train with him. He says, hey, you want to box? I said, yeah, sure, I'll box. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm going to kick your, what. He was bobbing, weaving, hitting to the body. He was killing me. And he had gone to a professional boxing gym and started training with boxers and a professional trainer. He got great. He was a great boxer.
That was because of
our first fight, I think,
And that's the one I knew was that great one. I didn't see him before when you beat him up.
He was just a point fighter, man. He was trying to point fight.
I mean, and his fighting style was like perfect kata. When you look at detail and specific things with a perfect kata, I mean, his form looks so good.
Oh, gosh.
But by the time I saw him fighting, he had good hands as a boxer, too. And, he brought him into Galveston, and he did a seminar, and I sparred with him, and I just remember he hit me with stuff, but it was so much good control.
Oh, yes.
And I went to school, I guarantee you. I learned a lot from that. It was really good. Just his whole lineage of people. I mean, when you look at his lineage of people, who do you think about?
Oh, Ray McCallum. Tim Kirby. Billy Jackson. Those were probably the top three. Yeah. It was.
I
always considered him, and I would even do it a lot of times. They'd ask me, who my instructor was. I'd say Demetrius Avanis, because by that time I'd left college. Of course, I still had June. I don't think I had June Reed yet. I don't think June Reed had come into the picture yet. But I claimed Greek, and the thing that of all the things that I really cared for him, and I remember one time Steve Doss telling me a story. He said, Ishmael, I don't know if I ever told you this. I was up with Greek one time training with him, and I asked him, hey, Greek, who's your best friend? He said, well, probably Ishmael. And that made me feel.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sad news is, you want to tell what happened with Greek?
Well, yeah. So I don't even know how many years it's been, but he was going to a fight in Atlantic City, and he was going to work the corner of Cliff Thomas for a kickboxing match there. And he had himself, I can't think of the pilot's name, but I knew him really well, but he had his girlfriend with him and a gentleman by the name of Sandoval, who was the brother of Hillary Sandoval. They flew up there. They'd actually called and asked me if I wanted to go, but I couldn't get away. I had the karate school and stuff like that, so I said no. And they had an extra seat for one person, but I think they ended up taking Greek's girlfriend. But it was so sad, and I thought about, well, it could have been me, but but God didn't want me. But It was so sad, and it was a humongous. Chuck Norris was there at the funeral.
We had a lot crashed, of people there, and they all passed.
Crashed,
that was a big loss.
Oh gosh!
But he lives on through all those guys. I mean, all those guys were just top fighters, and with. Tim and I had a lot of good fights, and Ray McCallum, I fought him one time at Fort Worth Pro-Am, and he beat me, and it was for the Grand Championship, and I lost to him. I scored on him, and to me, that was that victory for me. Just scoring on him was really good. And who was the other one that you made? Billy Jackson. Yeah, I fought him there at Fort Worth Pro-Am too. And wound up losing to him in overtime. And I mean, the greatest fight that I saw him do was when he fought, what's his name?
Raymond?
Billy.
Billy Jackson. He fought Raymond one time. I saw it on video. He just about killed Raymond. He's
right. I remember seeing that. But
Uh-huh.
what's the guy's name from California? My goodness.
Steve Fisher?
No. I'll bring it back to you when I think about it. But anyway, they fought a fantastic fight, and the guy from California wanted it winning it, and it went the distance. But it was controversial call.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't John Natividad.
No, it was my goodness.
So those are all legends right there.
Yeah, this was a legend too. But anyway,
Benny Urquidez?
Benny Urquidez, that's who it was.
Point karate.
Benny. No, it was a kickboxing bout. Yeah, and it was in Fort Worth. Go onto YouTube sometime and look for it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, it was a very controversial call, but it was.
Oh, that's when he fought him on the team match.
It was a team match. That's right.
Yeah, that was the.
You were on that team too, right? Yeah.
Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, I remember he fought him.
And Roy Kerbin was on it too.
Roy Kerbin was on it. Ray McCallum, Phil Wallman.
Yes, there was a bunch of the Texas greats.
Yeah, we just a couple of years ago, I think we had the AOK or not of the Texas Hall of Fame put us as a team into their
cool.
Fame.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Well, those were good days. Those were very competitive days for the Texans. That are now,
but legends. Sometimes when I think about the sparring, I think what made me good or great, whatever you want to call it, is the people that I had around me.
Right.
I mean, I was sparring with you on a regular basis. I was sparring with Greek. I was training and sparring kickboxing with Cliff Thomas. My God, he's a 5-time world kickboxing champion. I was training with Troy Dorsey and pounding him, and he was pounding me.
Right.
And him and his, one time I was getting ready for a big fight. I was going to fight, I can't think of who I was going to fight, but it got canceled. But right before Jim Choate had us go into to one of the karate schools where he had a ring set up, and I fought, and Roy Kerbin and Jay Trombley were going to promote the event, and they came out to watch it. They wanted to see what kind of conditions I was in, and I fought Troy and his brother Brian, and Brian was he was a good fighter, and I fought them for 12 rounds. I'd go 2 rounds each, 2 rounds with Troy, 2 rounds with Brian, 2 rounds with Troy for 12 rounds. I was in the best shape I've ever been in. And Tommy Williams, I was going to fight Tommy Williams, and he's something, I don't know what happened to him. I thought he just. Didn't want to fight me or something like that.
So it didn't go through?
They didn't go through. But
Tommy Williams was the guy that had that
spinning back fist and
spinning
back
side kick. He would cut you in half with a turned side kick. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, too bad that didn't happen.
Yeah, I really wish it would have gone.
He wound up fighting Cliff Thomas, right?
No, I never fought Cliff. Cliff Thomas.
No. He
fought Cliff Thomas. Well, that was funny.
Yeah, that was in El Paso.
That's when
right?
I had that other fight.
Yeah,
the fight I was telling you about.
Right. Yeah.
And I asked, and it was so funny because my brother's a very good fighter, and usually I would have fought the semi-main event. But I said, I told Corley, I said, Joe Corley, hey, why don't you put my brother as a semi-main event? Because I want to be a couple of fights away from Cliff Thomas because I'm going to work his corner.
Right.
So he said, well, okay, we'll do that. So Fernando got to and I don't know if it was a draw or what it was. Fernando fought the semi-main event, and I fought one of the earlier fights. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the way it was.
Great memories, yeah.
That's awesome. Let's jump into some questions. I have a feeling that the Q&A time is going to bring up some more conversations, but we're going to go ahead and jump into it. So, like I told you before, we always post on our Facebook page, and we just ask any listeners to send in some questions. So I have a handful of the first ones are lightning round questions. So they're kind of designed to just be a quick answer. Just a lot of times it's multiple choice or just a one-word answer, and then we'll get into some of the questions that they asked. And then, like I said, if y'all want to keep going with the conversations throughout this time, that'd be great too. So lightning rounds. Here we go. You ready? Jump rope or running?
Running.
Okay. Tacos or burritos?
Tacos.
All right. Which one of your knockouts is your favorite?
Sam Montgomery.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Mountains. I live on the beach.
I wasn't sure where that one was going to go because I figured you either say, well, I'm in Galveston, or you'd say, well,
on the beach.
I want something different. Okay. Favorite boxer of all time?
Muhammad Ali. I met Muhammad Ali in Galveston.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got a picture with him.
That's awesome. And then favorite karate fighter of all time.
Ray McCallum.
Okay.
I love Ray. Sometimes I don't love Ray, but he is the best.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to pivot us straight into our first question this is from Lincoln Hilton. I don't know if you remember, he's Master Lincoln now. Who is your favorite fighter to watch and why? So
just fighter
in general. So now it's broad: boxer, kickboxer, any kind of fighter, whoever that is. Who's your favorite and why?
Sheesh. I used to like to watch Bill Wallace. He was one of my very favorites, point karate and kickboxing. You know, Benny Urquidez was probably the second one that I'd say. And I knew Benny. I always hoped I'd fight him, Benny. I was hoping I could fight him.
What made it fun to watch Bill Wallace?
I would love to see that.
Bill Wallace, just that front leg roundhouse and that side kick. And he had I sparred probably 20 rounds with Bill Wallace. He would come in to do a seminar for some guys in Houston, and they'd always call me and invite me over. And so it was so funny because I would take my gloves and I'd go over there and he would fight every single person in the place. He'd line up 30 people. He'd fight everybody.
Really?
You know? So I'd get him at about 10th or 11th round. And I got to admit, I was good, but he was a little tired, but we would just get into it. Boom, 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 boom. And it was amazing, and I thought I did pretty well against him. And he even, he said, yeah, you're darn good, So that made me feel good to fight with him.
Well, if you don't know Superfoot, he was one-legged kicker. He kicked with his left leg only, and he did 3 kicks, right? Roundhouse, side kick, and hook kick.
Hook kick, yeah.
And
he had a great left hook.
Yeah,
he hit me with the left
good.
hook in the chest, and I stepped back and stumbled and fell. Of course, he jumped up and like he'd won the whole thing. I said, okay.
Yeah.
But he's a great man. I mean, he's good. You had him here for a seminar. Mm-hmm. Good guy.
Mm-hmm.
God, love him to
times.
death. Yeah.
He was actually at a tournament last weekend and talked to Jeffrey Whitehead, the guy who asked the next question. He's out there teaching right now. He talked to him and said to say hi and everything. But he was texting me, I got to talk to Bill Superfoot Wallace. And so that was cool. He's still around. He's still showing up to tournaments, I guess, because he was there.
Yeah.
So the next question comes from Jeffrey Whitehead. Like I said, he just was competing last weekend. He wants to know, what was your ideal process or warm-up on a fight day or before a tournament?
It just turned into just habits, moving around, thinking about the fights, thinking about whether it was a kickboxing match or whether it was a karate tournament, just thinking about the things that I was going to do to control it. What happens if I'm not in control of the fight? What do I do? How do I get back into the fight? And just questioning myself about things that I needed to do and know what I knew it was going to be my left hand jab. I knew it was going to be my right hand overhand right, and I knew it was going to be my front leg round kick. So I didn't have a lot. Those were my very best techniques. So I stayed with that.
All right, just kind of visualizing those things.
Yeah.
What about same kind of question? But Lincoln asked if you had like a certain meal that you would like to eat before your set to make sure you were ready, or maybe the night before, the day of. Did you have a certain meal? I
would usually starve myself for fights. My very first weight, I started weighing in at 135. That was my original weight for flyweight. I went up to 142, and then I finished my career at 147. So I was always losing weight, always watching my diet and my calories. And a couple of times, I think I did. I weighed in on Friday night. Hillary Sandoval would have us in El Paso. I fought there several times. We would weigh in at 6 a.m. But then we had other people that would weigh us in the night before. So that worked out better because I'd start eating a lot right then. And I'd probably be, if I was weighing in at 142, I'd probably weigh at 148 or 150 when I got in the ring. So back then they didn't weigh you right before you fight. Now they do that. So, but I would just eat,
whatever it was,
steak, spaghetti, things like that.
Yeah, that's kind of similar. Carb load, maybe a little bit. That was actually Ben Sabedra that asked that question. I was wrong. That was not one of Lincoln's, but yeah. Next one comes from Macy, one of our new black belts. She wants to know, when did you realize martial arts was a thing that you would always do?
Probably after I took the first lesson.
Really?
I was really impressed. Jesse had told me all about it and all the things that they did. And then taking the first lesson kind of opened up my eyes and watching the guys when I knew I could handle them with my hands, but I didn't know what to do against a kick. A kick scared me, So it was kind of. I'll tell you a funny story. I met a guy. I went to to do a thing in Miami, a voiceover or something for a boxing match or kickboxing match, and I was there and I met. Do you remember me telling you about this Hispanic fighter, the great fighter of all times?
Salvador Sanchez?
No.
That was my great one.
No, I can't. But anyway, he passed. He passed away recently, or not too long ago, from head damage. I mean, he'd been hit in the head so many times, you know. But anyway, I met him. Wonderful guy, you know, and he was like scared to death of me. He was the world champion boxer. And he knew that I was a karate guy. Hey man, I'm not messing with you. I'm thinking you'd kill me, man. You'd kill me. But we got to be good friends. Went out, just partied one night, and then I heard sadly that he had passed from brain hemorrhages or something like that. I'll think of his name when I'm on my way driving home. You know,
right?
So I'll call you and tell you.
There you go. We can always edit and post, right? Logan will fix it. All right. So Mason, my son, wanted to know what keeps you motivated to continue your training as long as you have?
Waiting for him to grow up so I can I can kick him in the head like I kicked his daddy and his grandpa.
Hey, that's right. I can attest that I've been kicked in the head by that front leg.
Likewise.
You always tell that story of your growing muscle after kicking me in the head. That's funny. All right. What about, I'll jump to one of Kathy Alexander's questions because it's similar. She wants to know how you stay physically fit.
I exercise 4 to 5 days a week. I've got a group of guys that come in, you know, I've got 2 chiefs and I tell them I'm the only Indian in there, I guess. Chief Boyle and Chief Davis, and we have a good little group, and we work out 4 to 5 days a week, and we accept anybody that wants to come in. We work out at 11 o'clock. Hopefully we'll get your dad in there one day.
Yeah, I'm going to come over.
It's a good synchronized workout that we do that Rick and I have been training now about 7 years. He was the chief of police, you know, and
in Galveston, right?
In Galveston, he'd come in and work out with me. And I said, Rick, don't make any important decisions for at least an hour when you get back to your office. Because he would, I mean, you know yourself, if you're really heavily working out, you don't know you're kind of lightheaded, you know. So that was kind of funny. But we've been training together now. So technically, we should just honorary promotion to black belt because he's been training with me for like 45 years.
Wow. Yeah, his son is one of our black belts.
That's
Hudson.
right. Yeah. He's getting his wings this next week.
Really?
For a Marine Corps jet pilot.
Wow. Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't either. Wow.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so then Emmett, another one of my sons, he wants to know what was it like having his grandpa as a student? So he wants to know what was it like having Grandmaster Garza as a student, a young student.
You know, aside from being dear friends, and I love this guy like a brother, we've been together for 50 years or more,
yes, sir.
You know? So it's amazing. And Al was always a very good student, trained hard, worked hard, you know, and I don't know how he lived his life because married to your grandma, to your mom. I didn't mean that.
Well, it's Emmett's grandma. I got you.
Okay. But they had an interesting life together, and then, gosh, to be able to do what they've done, what you guys have done with this business, I'm so proud of him and you guys. Y'all just are awesome, and it's you know, it's good. I mean, he's a great guy. It's good to have him. He's a perfect model of a real truth. The things that you can't teach a horse new tricks or whatever it is the saying. I did jiu-jitsu for about 2 years and it was okay, but I'm not. And I did judo for a couple of years, but I like to punch and kick. Mm-hmm. And I'm just amazed at your dad, all the systems that he's picked up, all the black belts that he's done. It just I wish I was him sometimes, you know, so I could do all that. But I
trade you for that overhand right. That one would be valuable.
Yeah. Well, that's a great answer. That's awesome. So the next one is this is another one from Lincoln. When were you most afraid as a competitor, and how did you overcome it? Is there ever a time when you were afraid?
I've never been afraid to fight anybody. The only thing I've been afraid about is not to look good. I can handle a defeat as long as it's a good fight. Mm-hmm. But I've been fortunate. I've never had anybody just go out there and trounce me and beat me 5-0 or 10-0. Or some days you just can't. You're not waking up on the right side or like that. But no, I was. Okay, what was that question again? Maybe
the specific question was, when were you most afraid as a competitor, and how'd you overcome it?
I don't think I was ever afraid. I prayed. Certainly, I was. I pray, and my prayer is, God, don't let me get hurt. Let me hurt him, and let me do good. That real basic. I just, that's what I pray for, and it seems to work. So
I think it's interesting that you pray for not hurting him, because I think a lot of people who don't do this maybe don't understand that side of it. That we're out here competing, we're trying to hurt, we're trying to win, but we're also we have no ill intent against the other person at the same time.
None. You're right. You're right.
I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. I think they were just. You watch it on TV and you think that these guys hate each other, and all the talking and behind for UFC, they milk it all, how much I hate you and I'm gonna beat you up and all that. And it's like, it's not really about that. At least it wasn't for anybody that we've had fight out of our gym, MMA wise. I know it sounds like it was the same for you. That's cool. You're praying for the other person.
Yeah.
And then I think on top of that, would you say that you weren't afraid because of your training, or what?
It was inside determination. I knew once I got out there, and believe me, you learn, I guess. The first time that I got knocked down was a guy named Manny Johnston, and I was beating the heck out of him for the first round. I was telling my corner, I'm going to take him out with this and that, and I ran into a right hand, boom, and I hit the ground, and instead of staying down, I jumped right back up and fell down again. And the referee stopped the fight, and I was thinking, man, but that came back. Everything, sometimes a loss gives you a win later. I fought a guy in Chicago, and in Chicago, I got knocked down in the second round. He knocked me down twice, and both times he knocked me down, I took a knee, and I got my head back together, and I ended up winning a 9-round unanimous decision. So you learn, you learn from defeats too. So
it's good, yeah.
That's awesome. Next question is, if you could have a meal with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Probably in the fight game, probably be Muhammad Ali. We spent some time together, not a lot of time. Certainly, he was in Galveston, and he had his illness, that he had. So he didn't make a lot of sense, but he was a sweetheart of a guy. And I told him I was the world champion, and he patted me on the back, on the head. He was a big, tall guy, and patted me on the back. He said, "Congratulations," and I'm thinking, Jesus, what a guy to be able to interact with. And we didn't communicate very well, but I think if I could have communicated with him better as a younger man, him younger, and the way he would talk and stuff like that, he was just I don't know, everybody's got good and bad impressions of him, but he was a very humble person. So that would be the guy I'd want to talk with for a while.
I would agree with that. That'd be a one that'd be fun to have a conversation with. All right. So what lesson from old school karate does today's martial arts need to keep going? To keep? Mm-hmm. Ask your dad first. All right. To you, Grandmaster Garza.
I think loyalty, respect, honor. I think we had that. I think I can't ever remember saying anything negative about him in front of him or behind his back. I respect the man, and I would love to see that be a major soft training. Is that people need to be loyal. They don't. I've trained with a lot of instructors, but it's been under his blessings, and he's all. This is my instructor. This is who goes down as my if you ask me who my teacher is for a certain style, then I have instructors to do that as well. But it's a thing of honor and respect. Okay.
Anything to add? Anything to add?
No. I this is, my oldest son in karate, and you're my oldest grandson. But we're one thing I can say about Master Garza, he's the most loyal person I've ever known. I mean, there's times we've had our differences, but he's never put me down or said anything about me, and I've never done that with him either. I've always, I love you guys like you're my own. You know that. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah,
it's great. Last question here is from Dean, and we kind of talked about this earlier, but not specifically here. So, what age did you start, and what made you gravitate towards kickboxing? Like, how did you end up there?
I started boxing when I was 8.
Okay.
In at the Boys and Girls Club in Galveston at the Magnolia Homes. And I was a pretty good, I had probably maybe 30, 40 matches total, tournaments. I'd go to some tournaments, I'd be a walkover, nobody was there, or I'd go to another one, win 2 or 3 fights to win. Another one, I'd go and get my butt kicked the first round, So, but it helped me to, when I went off to college, I boxed at a gym there. There's a guy named Bubba Bashami who was he went to the Olympics from Beaumont. He didn't do well, but he was an Olympic boxer, So he and I would spar a lot because we were about the same age and size. And then karate, what was the question again?
How did you end up at kickboxing? Because that's where you're the world champion at, right? So how did you get there?
What Jesse Benavides. Mm-hmm. Jesse Benavides said, "Come on, we were good friends. You need to come to our see our karate demonstration." So I saw the demonstration, and I liked it. And I think I told you earlier that once I could kick too, I just had a front round kick, and that was it. And then my left and my right, and I was successful. So I figured, heck, if I could do it. I won my first tournament as a white belt. I won the first tournament I ever entered, the white belt division. I figured, heck, if I can do this after only a couple of weeks training, imagine what I can do if I really took this seriously.
Right.
So that's when I started that.
And so then that went into point karate. Then when did it get into kickboxing?
Kickboxing was when I graduated college and when Demetrius Savanas, I'd already been a good fighter. I'd gone to his tournament. With a friend of mine named Billy Singletary. We drove up there together and fought in the tournament. And that's the first tournament I ever won. And I fought a guy named Steve Stavroff. He was like one of the top lightweights, and I beat him. And I beat a guy named Archie Cole, who was a really good fighter too. And then Greek came up, and he's kind of, really, hey, you're pretty good, man. Thank you. Hey, we're going to go have some drinks. You need to join us. Okay. And so we did, and Greek and I became best friends after that. So
awesome.
Greek was already kickboxing at that time.
He was kickboxing. That's when I told you I went over there. I go train with him, right? Mm-hmm. And in the first boxing thing, I beat him. My hands hurt so much from hitting him so hard. But we had a big area like that. That was our area. So you can imagine he was good about getting people up against the ropes and hurting them like that, but he couldn't do that to me. But then the second time, he just got so good.
Wow.
But that's when I realized I wanted to be a kickboxer. When he called me and asked me, "Hey, you want to be our flyweight?" I said, and to me, it was an honor for him to ask me, And
you said your weight was at 135.
I was weighing 100. I was walking around at 150. And he had to lose. He lost muscle.
He always had to lose. But he was real good about losing weight and gaining weight and fought in several different weight classes, right?
He did, but again, he just gave away so much reach and height,
right?
Yeah. So that's what really he was going to fight Benny Urquidez. They were supposedly going to fight at lightweight, which was about 147. Mm-hmm. That's what the title that I won. I think the world title. But
we just got one more question, and actually just got submitted from Miss Vanessa here. She wants to know, and maybe both of y'all can talk about this, but what do you think sets apart a champion from just the normal skilled fighters? There's a lot of skilled fighters, not that many of them are world champions or are on that level. What do you think sets them apart?
I think, when you really look at fighters, I think the mentality, how people think about themselves and think about what they're doing and representing has a lot to do with it. I mean, some people are, and I hate to use the word clown, but there's some people are clowns. They like the lights and the bright lights and the notoriety, and they just talk and talk and talk. I mean, I like, people that are down to earth and talk well and don't try to berate their competitors or things like that. But then a lot of people are showmen. I mean, even Ali, as much as I loved Ali, he was a showman, and he would say things and do things sometimes just to get people to come to the door. But that was him. That's the way he would. But there's a lot of people that I've met, world champions that I've met, that have been just the nicest, sweetest people that I've ever met. I'm thinking to myself, man, I would like to have a friend like this, much less a guy that's a world boxing or kickboxing champion or karate fighter, for instance. Jim Harrison. I love Jim Harrison. Jim Harrison stayed at my house a couple of nights when he would come in and do seminars for us. And this guy was one of the baddest dudes ever, and people like him, he carried himself so well. So that I think to me a champion is a champion not only in fighting, but a champion in life that goes around and tries to make a good example of himself. And I'm not down putting anybody down that acts silly or crazy, but because I know why they do it. They do it to get the views. Get the views, So.
Yes, sir.
Jim Harrison came and taught at my school one time. We were on Holly Street. Do you remember that? So you were there.
Me and Rick
Boyle, and this guy, Jim Harrison. Yeah. And some guy is just acting a fool, and Jim Harrison takes him down and just pounds him. Pow, pow, pow. And then Jim Harrison had a reputation as being, don't want to do things like that to him. And sure enough, he lived up to it. Yeah. You remember that?
Well, let me tell you the exact story. Rick and I are over there, and then they bring this heavyset guy comes over to join us because there was an odd number of people. And he's saying, man, I don't know why I'm here. My son bought me a ticket, and I really don't want to be here. I used to be a wrestler. I used to do this. I used to do that. And so we're talking, okay, all right. And so we're taking turns working stuff with each other. And Harrison comes over to watch us, and he says, hey, Harrison, what would you do if a guy got you in a headlock? He said, well, let me show you. So he gets the guy, and the guy, get me in a headlock. So the guy gets him in a headlock and then starts wrestling with him and not letting him out of it, kind of to make him look bad, right? Harrison sweeps him, takes him down on his head, and is getting ready to punch him in the head. And I'm thinking, Rick, maybe we shouldn't watch. You're the darn police officer, for God's sake, And he goes like this, pops him, and pulls it back. He could have killed him. And the guy after that was, yes, sir, Mr. Harrison. Yes, sir, Mr. Harrison. Yes, sir, Mr. Harrison.
Turned him around quick.
I'm so sorry.
The fear got in him.
I love that guy. He was something.
That is awesome. That's a great story. That was at your school?
That was at your school.
Oh, here?
Wow. Okay. Holly Street here.
Yeah.
When we were in
I missed that part of it.
Location, yeah.
That's great. Well, anything to close here? Any last thoughts or anything else from you, Dad?
Well, you'd asked, who was it, Vanessa's question?
Yes,
Ask
sir.
it again.
The question was, what separates a champion from just a skilled fighter?
Okay. I think the reasons that I opened my school was because, first of all, I had a passion for martial arts when I found out I wasn't going to be a football player. And, I had a commitment to bring character to the martial arts and to keep character in the martial arts. And I think about, I had a run-in with a fighter. I had 3 fights with him. And I fought him at the Karate Olympics in Houston, and I beat him. And then I fought him in New Braunfels, and he beat me. And it was in my face after he beat me. And so then I fought him in Brownsville, and I beat him. I fought him in his hometown, and I beat him 5-0 like that. Boom. And I didn't do it back to him. The end of the story is we went to Bermuda we were invited to go to a Bermuda tournament. I don't know if you remember that, but several of us went. On the way back, him and his brother gave me a magazine, or it was a curriculum booklet of theirs, of their style, and they signed really nice things on it. And no matter what, you keep your character. That's what's important to me, is the character that we bring to the deal. So again, I can't ever remember losing it, and so I always felt like I led by example to do that, and I would want that to continue. And when you look at the champions, the ones that I admire are the ones who do have character. They're not just being crazy. And like you said, if they're being crazy, that's their choice. That's kind of what they do, but it's not my style. It's not what I would promote. So that's what I would say. Keep your character, win or lose. You say, the saying, sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. You mentioned that a couple of things that was learned from some of those losses. A lot was learned.
I think sometimes you're milking it up, you're pumping up the fight and everything, but then whenever the actual fight happens, it all stays in the ring right after the fight. Your friends, that kind of thing. So that can be part of it too, even if you're milking it before.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is like Troy Dorsey and I had, if you ask him, he says, I won twice, he won one. I thought I won once and he lost. He won twice. But anyway, the last time I talked to him, he was like saying the other way. But bottom line is, we fought, but we never had a bad word to each other, and we loved each other. When we lost our daughter, Ashley, that guy called me every day for a long time. I mean, and he would check on me regularly. And that's the kind of relationships you make with these guys in the martial arts when you're competing and you're putting everything you got into it. When you walk in the ring, you're not in there to kill each other, but you're not in there to be friends either. You go in there to fight to win. And when you walk out of the ring, you leave it in the ring. If there's anything that you want that needs to be left in the ring, I think that's what we want to promote. Continue to promote.
Relationships very important, because I felt the same way about DP. I went and stayed at his house several times, but when I fought him, I wanted to kill him, and he wanted to kill me, and but we would go after each other, but afterwards it's kind of funny, the people that you really get in competition with, totally not real fighting, because this is technical stuff, really, I guess. But when you respect that, and I respect it, Yeah.
DP was amazing. When I came in, I was coming in as a new black belt, fighting these legends, Al Francis, DP Hill. I fought DP Hill at Fort Worth, and first clash, he hit me with something on my elbow, and it just swelled. It just and I lost 1-0. Then I fought him at your tournament in Galveston. So a hometown favorite, I guess, because I beat him. And it was cool, because I can remember today, I threw a ridge hand, he blocked it. So I feigned the ridge hand, he went to block it, and I ridged him on the other side of the head, and that was my winning score. So, I mean, that's my claim to fame, is beating him.
Yeah. Sure.
As you know, he was an amazing guy. But he was a legend. He was
he was up there,
And with Al Francis, it took me 7 times to beat him. He beat me 6 times in overtime. And the 7th fight was the last time I fought him and won. So those are the exciting times when you bring.
But we're all friends. We're all dear friends.
Oh, Al Francis and I mean, we just had a bunch of social media stuff going on between Al Francis and all of us. So you were on that too. Yeah. So make a friend.
Yeah. So in closing, I think you owe him a paycheck. We decided that.
I'll have to figure out the interest.
What's the interest on that, man? I hate to even hear.
Well, this has been great. This has been awesome to have you on, sir. It's exactly what I hoped it would be. I love hearing y'all talk about the good old days. It's one of my favorite things. Sit down and just listen to y'all talk.
We can remember,
Well, with y'all's power together, putting the heads together, y'all usually figure it out.
Been here at Ketis, I couldn't pull that one out, but that was good.
On what?
On the fight with him and
Greek, yeah.
No, Jackson. He fought both of those guys.
Yeah, he fought.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about that fight. That was kind of interesting because that's when I really started working with Cliff Thomas, because Greek was training Cliff Thomas for the fight with Gordon Franks for the world title, the super flyweight title, and then Billy is going to fight Benny Urquidez. So Greek calls me and says, "Ishmael, man, I got this predicament where both guys, Billy's going to fight Benny Urquidez, and Cliff is going to fight for the super flyweight competition or title." He says, "Could you work Cliff's corner?" I said, "Sure," because we trained together, and I worked with him too. So I went to go work Cliff's corner in El Paso, and Greek went with Billy to fight Benny Urquidez. So we had two great victories.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
You know, so it was pretty cool. And Greek is the one that really trained Cliff. I mean, I sparred with him a lot, but he really trained Cliff. So that was his guy. And I took no responsibility for it. I thought I did a good job. It was only 4 or 5 rounds, I guess, that he took Franks out.
This guy, Cliff Thomas, had heart surgery when he was a kid, and he wasn't supposed to do any kind of physical things like this. He snuck out and started doing martial arts, became a world champion kickboxer.
3-time world kickboxing champion.
Wow.
Great fighter.
He would win the title and then he'd lose it. He'd win it and then he'd lose it, and then win it and he'd lose it.
He's awesome guy.
Yeah. But
I guess that's how you become a 3-time, huh?
Yeah.
he was good. Yeah.
That's great. Well, this has been awesome. Anything in closing before we send it off?
Well, just just the love, honor, and respect that I have for you, Grandmaster Robles, just increases when we get time with you like this.
Well, it's reciprocal. Is that a good word?
It works. It'll do the trick.
What's your word?
Oh, inspiring. I'm even just watching the fights, it makes me want to work my front leg and my overhand right. So yeah, very inspiring to hang out with you like this.
Enjoyed. I really enjoyed this. I really did.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Be sure you share this episode out to somebody who you think might enjoy it. And we will see you guys in the next one. Bye.